All right, I'm back. Forgive me. Don't. You know what? Don't. In the end, I think I'll be taking care of all my stuff. Weirdly enough, we're gonna we're gonna attribute Miss Fabian to. That's a lie. It's reactions. It's sitting here talking to the camera. And before I just keep running on my mouth and making it worse, because I do that a lot, the reason I'm doing this is because of something I just listened to. Now, if Mr. Peterson is offensive to you, then man, I'm somehow really hiding my influences from the intellectual right. Um, the intellectual dark web, if you will. I mean, that's where a lot of my stuff comes from. But if you've been paying attention at home, well, this might make sense why the Miss Fabian reactions, everything over the last few weeks, hell, everything since I had to go get my dad, it all got shook up. And, you know,
I guess it was because I was trying to figure out who I was and how that could be fixed. Something like that. I started to pay very careful attention to what I was saying. I don't know if that happened voluntarily or involuntarily, but I could feel.
okay, so for me, it happened, it's happening voluntarily. But the reason it's happening voluntarily is I had to say, I didn't have to, of course. I didn't have to. I chose to let it all hang out, right, in the Mademoiselle Zhivago. I just decided to go with whatever my core feelings were in a piece of art that was intended to draw feelings from me. Then, in my comments, almost as if the universe was looking down on me, issues with translations and other things made me deal with a few subjects and examine my own positions and also make me realize that I'm more willing to weigh everything out than just jump down someone's throat. Now, if you're an Alex and you want to come around and be, a total hater, and then we have shit for that too. But I started paying attention because I was saying so much I had to start watching my own reactions. And I'm not kidding you, I very rarely watch what I do. That's why I'm always like, hey, I wonder if I'm doing a good, I wonder this, I wonder that. I don't have the time. Today alone, I think I've done 9. And then I didn't cut the grass the other night. I ended up cutting it today. I ended up watching the last 40 minutes of KGF 2 today. I've set up another 2 hours worth of reactions in my list to add to it. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I didn't have a lot of time to go back and look at stuff. I still don't. But some things I had to like. So the last 2 episodes of 2000 Mules, I had to watch them all. Now, this is gross, but I had to make sure I wasn't like picking my nose or doing something bad. Yeah, I chain smoke, and I decided today I'm going back on the wagon tomorrow. Today for Father's Day, I gave myself my normal intake of Rockstar because I'm done with. There's no jury, no nothing sad. Poncho's not ready to kick the bucket. We're not gonna lose another pet right away. Uh, things are leveling out. So, come across this today because I am actually going down Jordan Peterson's Spiritual Awakening. It appears it might be the closest thing that I can use to understand what I the last few steps I need to take to get on a path I want to be on. But from the power of my mind and ability to do good legitimately, I'm probably, well, he makes it clear.
Exactly know how these things were causally related. I guess it was because I was trying to figure out who I was and how that could be fixed, something like that. I started to pay very careful attention to what I was saying. I don't know if that happened voluntarily or involuntarily, but I could feel a sort of split developing in my psyche, and the split, and I've actually had students tell me the same thing that has happened to them after they've listened to some of the material that I've been describing to all of you. But I split into two.
And that's actually 100% accurate. This is why I had to drop everything and start this. I guess I'll go Patreon, then release tomorrow morning. I'll give you at least a day, a night head start if you're interested. Shit. I do that to myself. I know. God, I should stay. It happens from, by listening. I listened to his, so Jordan Peterson explains to Joe Rogan the Exodus narrative. And I can take that as 100% fact, but he breaks it down from a psychological perspective, puts the smack down on Rogan a little bit, who's hard on the Bible. And then for me, it brought me exactly to where it finally needed to be. A mix of many principles and ideas all coming together to honor a path, or I maybe actually could honor my Lord and Savior. As Jordan and Mr. Peterson has explained to me through watching his stuff, how I understand it is I'm probably a moderately bad, probably just a moderate bad guy and not a horrible bad guy. But if I was a good guy, all my actions would prove it. And of course, I have lots of shortcomings, so I'm not there yet. But it is definitely in action and deed, not something you just say. And then what I'm afraid of is preaching a hollow message that can't get through to anybody. But the rule book is simple. I'm pretty sure I know what the rule book is. I'm pretty sure I knew what the rule book was the whole time. And it's really helping me discover that.
I've been describing to all of you. But I split into two, let's say. And one part was let's say the old me that was talking a lot and that liked to argue and that liked ideas. And there was another part that was watching that part, like just with its eyes open.
Okay, so weirdly enough, it's literal. I had to start watching myself more and analyzing what I'm saying more, but not lie. As much as I might alienate someone, I can't lie. I'm not. If the transformation is real, it will probably be subtle. Some of it will be abrupt. Realizing that anger will have to be identified a lot sooner and then turned into maybe more focused. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not there yet.
And neutrally judging. And the part that...
So the neutrally judging is weird. So YouTube forces me to not weigh my moral self, but my unfortunate participation in the global order. And you see, we're going somewhere with that. So, but the weird part is having to look at everything I do through the lens of my own personal morality, and then YouTube's rating system. And then wanting to make something of all this. So if you ever wonder why it's so formulaic out there, because it's they have everyone governed down to the lowest speed possible, and then when certain individuals put it into overdrive, it scares a lot of people, because when you start seeing the actual, well, it's his debate with that lady that blew him up. If you've ever watched that whole debate, then you understand it's not a bad guy at all. Just talking about stuff that's as real as any of us has ever had to face or think about.
It was neutrally judging, was watching the part that was talking and going, that isn't your idea. You don't really believe that. You don't really know what you're talking about.
Okay, and then trying to put it at the source where I think I learned about it, because it wasn't my idea. It was put in there, you're right, and then trying to balance all this, but
idea. You don't really believe that. You don't really know what you're talking about. That isn't true. And I thought, that's really interesting. So now and that was happening to like 95% of what I was saying. And so then I didn't really know what to do. I thought, okay, this is strange. So maybe I've fragmented, and that's just not a good thing at all. I mean, it wasn't like I was hearing.
The fact that he mentions that way, and this is something. So here's my unfortunate deeper side, with also a little bit of occult knowledge, that fracturing can be done to people. As Mr. Peterson's saying, he was doing it thinking it was happening to himself through whatever process of learning and observation he was going through. But then there's a lot of research into how to fracture or fragment someone's mind against their will. So here's the get. What we're listening here really opened my eyes. But it also lets me know that my goal, I think we're far enough. I think we're far enough. My goal is to complete the whole message. So learning to grow myself into the best human I could possibly be with the time I have left. Because it took a long time to learn all this. And then taking the current events and global events, and why am I trying to go global with the reactions? Because that gives me much more of a chance to learn about the real world than the tiny narrative coming out of the mainstream. And all I mean by the mainstream is corporate press. That's it. I can actually learn more in comments about a region than I can by a computer search, because it always packages AP stories and things that are literally controlled. So why do I bitch about this? So here you get my Mr. Jordan's Peterson here is going to help me on my spiritual journey a little bit, then make sure we're done here.
95% of what I was saying. And so then I didn't really know what to do. I thought, okay, this is strange. So maybe I've fragmented, and that's just not a good thing at all. I mean, it wasn't like I was hearing voices or anything like that. I mean, it wasn't like that.
Okay. I understand, because how did I get... So today I was listening to this, because I'm on New World Order stuff and the global initiative, and I think this is the right place. But why would I listen to this guy? Well, it's because someone asked me to do this KGF 2 trailer, right? So I watched both of these movies. And even with them being a fiction, I had a deeper understanding of, let's say, how a fictional movie can be used to tell other, like traditional values, all kinds of meaning, I believe, was in here. Now, I'm not going to pretend I knew everything, and I don't pretend I know anything about India. But I can tell you I had 2 or 3 misconceptions instantly dispelled. Same thing happened to me with with the raid. Dispelled bad information by showing something just normal from a perspective I wasn't used to seeing it, and it easily erased all the narrative I'd ever been fed. So back to here. So, how do I balance becoming a better man, keep my faith, but then give back? Well, I believe there's one exception to why I can't take strictly a biblical path or a Christian path, if you will. Because I know non-Christians have value, and I'm not talking about the atheists. Atheists have value too. Humanists and all those people I butt heads with have value, and their life has worth. So I'm not. If you are misunderstanding this part, I don't mean that. But I am addressing the spiritually inclined in this video. And what got dispelled was what I thought something was maybe a dark evil process was really a multi-dimensional, complicated process to serve good or negative powers, which was, I think, who's Shiva worship? Is that the one? I don't quote me on none of this. But the point is I had a lot more open mind. And then I realized, I heard that this gentleman kind of put the New World Order in their place.
This idea that, your grand strategy must be about how you will choose. I will do what, as all of us do. I will weigh the situation, everybody, after all, how do countries eventually make decisions? They find,
Shankar, there will always be two axes at this point.
Yeah, so I'm not. If you ask me in the comments, I can give you the links to all this stuff if you're interested. I'm not going to put them in there because I'm not trying to. I hope people find. So, let's say I like a certain type of information. I promise you, whatever I'm learning about, there's 100 different sources telling the same thing. It all depends on who you like to listen to, right? It's no different than my subscribers and somehow enjoy all this. And I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong. But it is subjective, right? So, but if you ask me, I'll give you the links. So basically, this is one of the things I talk about all the time. Why am I always making the dumbass jokes about the island or talking about the 1% group? Because they support this two system narrative that the planet is going to have two factions always at odds. Why is that? So conflict resolution control mechanism, in my personal opinion. But I did a little digging here, and I'm actually very impressed with some of the tides that are changing. Now, I think a lot of people are going to be afraid. A lot of the humanists and the atheists will be afraid because they think people of faith will impose. And I'll tell you, I don't believe that. I believe the extremists have burnt themselves out, and the people who want to exist on this planet with a certain set of sacred truths. And that's something I learned from Mr. Peterson. And I'll be sharing this because I'm going to share what I've learned over the last few days. I've been a little hit and miss because I've been taking a little side journey into my faith again. But turns out this time I needed someone different. I didn't need Christian music, and I didn't need a Bible passage. I needed to look at the Exodus and the years in the desert as a generational shift to free themselves from the thoughts of tyranny that they were steeped in and just got rescued from. And the maybe the fact that the three generations, I think that's right. I'd have to double check, but it's not if I was following the lesson correctly, about 3 generations passed while they were in the desert. And if you think about it, that's the same amount of generations it takes for like a cultural revolution, for massive amount of change to come. And The people who fear a much more conservative future are probably rightfully scared. I don't think it's going to look the way they think, because I don't think Nazis are rising again. But I'm not going to get into that part. And I don't remember. I don't actually know who. So all authoritarians and totalitarians and all that, the technocrats, she's representing their talking points here.
I think it's an understood, accepted fact that you have the West, US-led, you have China as the next potential axis.
And it's in her face. I've been trained by Davos or those people to perpetuate this idea. And why have I been saying that everyone seems the same? And I've been really making a big deal of, let's say, oof, and I don't mean no disrespect by this. I hope it doesn't come off wrong, like the Indonesian fans. Well, if these people here are talking about India like this, then they must not see any of the little island nations as anything but fodder in their game. And from personal exchanges, well, there's no chance that's true. And I would want to coexist with all the little groups of people, the big groups of people. I'm even willing to coexist with these people. But their intentions have to be laid bare for people to see, which is
Where does India fit into this? But are you planning to not pick a
No,
side?
I'm sorry. That is exactly where I disagree with you. This is the construct you are trying to impose on me, and I don't accept it. I mean, I don't think it's necessary for me to join this axis or not, and if I'm not joining this, I must be with the other one. I don't accept that. I mean, I think I'm 1/5 of the world's population. I am, today, the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world. I mean, forget the history, civilization bit, everybody knows that. But I think I'm entitled to have my own side. I'm entitled to weigh my own interests.
damn straight. And then here's where I believe the huge misconception comes in. So I think a lot of people on the left think the people on the right are, I would agree with this gentleman. And I think we want safety for the kids. I think we want the ability, just like so everyone can worship in peace. I think we want some free markets and stuff like that. Hopefully, I hit right in the middle on this, where I'd like the healthcare to stop being an authoritarian model, garbage, and turn into something that was beneficial, like every one of the hidden. There's a whole pile of medical information on this planet you're not allowed to talk about on this platform. If you do, boom. Until all of that, and there's other stuff, but that's going to be in the news, so I'm not going to talk about it. So I think there. So I have to try to figure out how to spread what I believe is a message of global unity through a basis of sacred truths. As I've been told, the sacred truths are what help us see through cultural differences or the logical fallacies and lies that we all use against each other, appeal to authority and shit like that. And basically what I learned was I went down this path of, well, how do we all function? There's a lot of people on this planet. So much the globalists think that we have to get rid of some. But there's all these people. How do we function together? I'm not talking about the regional conflicts. Let's get off our high horse for a minute. Every day, the majority of life is benign, or whatever the right word is for that. We just live our lives, do our thing, day to day, in and out. I'm sure that's what progressives hate. But what I've been learning is that the sacred truths that come from so far back, you can't take them out of who we are, that allow us to function amongst each other. Why, after the war is over, the two sides mingle perfectly for the most part. I think it's fair to say we get rid of, we deal with or address extremism. The rest of the planet functions quite well. But that'll be part of future whatevers. Whew. Okay, I got to see what happens. I got stuff coming up, but I think it's going to be super positive, and I hate to be so long-winded, but you go back to the beginning. I mean, I think that hit exactly some of the stuff I'm going through and trying to share with everyone. So thank you for joining me on the trip, and should get interesting, I hope, especially in the end when it's about maybe some of the bolder ideas we're all, I'm hoping to look in a direction that leads to something better, instead of pretending a utopian. I don't believe in a utopian future, but I sure believe we all have value, and instead of erasing it to give two polarizing entities value, we all need to take the value that exists in our very humanities and our lives ourselves. See that? You get to do that too. You take breath, then we all have equal value, because we're all here breathing the same air. You know, that's, I'm dicking around here at the end, but it was heavy enough. I don't feel, I just don't know how to wrap them up sometimes when I go. I hope it was all good. Later.